We're here with Ashley Rayso. Very excited to share what we've been working on over the last several days and start spreading the word about really a big lawsuit involving Galaxy Gas, a whole bunch of other manufacturers. We're calling it the Nitrous Oxide lawsuit. Some people are calling it Whippets or Galaxy Gas, whatever it is. But tell us what you've been working on.
Yeah, absolutely. This has gained more and more attention, not only because of politicians trying to prevent the recreational use of Whippets or Galaxy Gas, but also celebrities stepping in and talking about it, and a huge increase in users, both in the US and worldwide, due mostly to the ease of access of it. It used to be that you would get nitrous oxide in one of two to three main places, and that would be a license to use it in the dentist office, where you have to go through an immense amount of training. They have to keep a lot of records about who uses it, how much they use it, when they use it, or you could use it in the automotive industry and recreational sports like shooting BB guns, things like that. And then in the restaurant industry, you could use it for whip topping. In the last several years, however, it has become way more accessible in what's commonly referred to as head shops, so vape shops. So sitting in between where you might buy a vape and marijuana paraphernalia or cigarettes, you have the Whippets or the Galaxy Gas sitting there ready to use, easy access, no license required. And they get through this loophole by saying it's for food use to be able to produce whipped cream. Even how I don't know any chefs or anyone going into head shops to buy whipped cream canisters where there are no other food or supplies that you would see in a restaurant. So it's become a huge problem, mostly because of the ease of access, and then this marketing and how they've changed it to be strawberry and cotton candy and blue raspberry. This combination of these things make it very attractive, especially to young people.
What are the injuries that you think are viable causes of action or viable cases as we sit here today?
The studies show that exposure to nitrous oxide is not really safe at many levels, but it can depend on the frequency of use and the dosage. So sometimes, unfortunately, things can happen after just a few usages, including mental issues and instability and psychotic breaks, all the way to things that will take years and years to develop, but the most dangerous being obviously death, but also paralysis. What nitrous oxide does is it depletes your B12 vitamins, and that can cause over time issues in your spine, issues in your spinal cord and your brain, which can cause paralysis and a bunch of other problems. And sometimes there's some treatments out there like getting B12 shots in the meantime, but the truth is that is never going to overcome the B12 deficiency that nitrous oxide does to your system.
Okay, but is this different than Pronox? Do you know what Pronox? Pronox is like a laughing gas that they use in medical centers as well, and it stops when you stop breathing it in.
Yeah, and it has less nitrous in that than it does in the containers, because the containers need to be more powerful for the whipping agent. So there's not as much nitrous in the dentist type.
What's the basis of the lawsuit? Is this a failure to warn case? Is this a marketing case? What do you think it is?
It's a combination, and it depends on the manufacturers. Definitely, I would say the warnings were not sufficient. They've gotten better in the recent months as the FDA came out and warned against these injuries, but they're not sufficient. They're not warned that it can cause paralysis, it can cause death, it can cause all of these heart issues. There's no warning like that on anything. They will send them direct to consumers, and it's easy to tell that these folks are not working in a restaurant or not dentists. And so those people are just not aware in the same way that a dentist would be aware, or someone else might be aware of the long-term side effects. So there's definitely a failure to warn case here. There's also a huge just sort of predatory marketing aspect to this. You wouldn't believe the things that go to show that these folks knew exactly what was being used with their product. Not only these very attractive sort of adolescence flavors like cotton candy and blue raspberry mango and all of those things, but literally using cartoons. And we've seen that in things like early tobacco, where there was Joe Camel and there was these cartoons meant to target young children. The combination of those things, and then also a lot of times the size in which these are sold make it impractical for restaurant use. Restaurant use would need to be smaller, otherwise it would go bad. So they absolutely knew what their product was being used for, so much so that in some cases, the sale of the product came with a free mouthpiece in some cases. And so they knew this is coming, this is going right to someone who's using this, not for whipped cream, definitely not for dentist procedures, not for automotive industry. They knew exactly what was going to be used for. And again, the sale of it in head shops even further proves that.
What are some of the major injuries that you've come across?
It's really a vast spectrum, all the way from mental health issues. Addiction is a huge one, because the plus side to someone who's using Whippets is that it's immediate, it's accessible because you can buy it anywhere. The downside is that the high doesn't last very long. So what we see is much higher dosage than other drugs. And so it can depend on whether that dose is in a very short time, and then you can have all sorts of problems, especially heart problems, or very long times. What's particularly sad about the long times is you can kind of see it coming. In one story in Louisiana, someone's daughter who progressively got worse would start to tip over and then lose balance until she was hospitalized, and eventually end up becoming paralyzed.
I mean, we've been taking dozens of these phone calls every day, and the story that we've been hearing over and over again are kids experimenting with this drug, 14, 15, 16 years old, and some are older, some are younger, and then years of use in several instances, and then one day, catastrophic injury.
And that's the saddest part, is it might not seem like much is happening, much is going wrong when you're using it. And then one day it can just be like that. One day you're addicted, and the treatment for addiction of this particular drug is not very well known yet, because this has become such a issue of recent. So there's been a lot of studies on how to deal with addiction with alcohol and with meth and all these other things. And we still have a long way to go there, but treatment centers that specialize in this addiction are so rare. And a lot of times you'll see people escaping another addiction only to get to this addiction because of the ease of access, because they can go buy it in a corner store.
And people mostly are like, oh, well, that won't happen to me, but it does happen.
Exactly.
So talking about the lawsuit, who actually qualifies?
Yeah, if you have used Whippets or Galaxy Gas or any of these products, and you have suffered an injury, whether it's heart issues, paralysis, mental health issues, instability, hospitalization, if you're on lifelong B12 shots, or if you're dealing with addiction, call us, see if you qualify. It's better to know if you qualify or not and make that call than to wonder and have your potential statute of limitations pass.
What if you're still currently using?
Still definitely call, because no one expects that you're going to be able to drop this just because you call an attorney. We can, help with resources. We are not doctors. We are not healthcare professionals, but we can help point you in the right direction. And again, your statute of limitations might pass even if you're still using them. And we'll do what we can to help you discontinue use of them.
Another question we get in a lot of our cases, do I actually need a lawyer? Is this a class action? I'm not a class action lawyer. I know your firm generally isn't class action lawyers, although there are class action cases associated with some of the cases that we're involved in. And there actually will be class action cases involving some of these products. What we're talking about are personal injury cases, and they're really, sometimes we use the term mass action, but they're personal injury cases. We're not talking about trying to get you $3 from Coca-Cola, and you probably do need a lawyer to handle this case. And the question we get is, do I have to have a lawyer? Can I just do this on my own? And while legally in the United States you're entitled to represent yourself, I don't know, what do you say to people who say, can I do this by myself?
This is very complex, right? This isn't a lease dispute. Not that you shouldn't get a lawyer for that as well, but this is a big issue that involves giant corporations who have profited millions, if not billions of dollars, who have the resources and amazing lawyers on their side. There's so many documents that are involved, and when you bring a case like this, you have to provide scientific expert support for that, that passes a particular standard. And so it's not enough to say, I use this and I'm injured. We have to prove that the injury was caused specifically by this, by not another issue, and that the injury is capable of being caused by using Whippets and Galaxy Gas. And so that requires people way smarter than me, PhDs, doctors, scientists, to go before the court and talk about that. And so what we are able to do when you hire a lawyer is we are able to provide not only the navigation through the legal system, but navigation as far as that scientific expert support that allows these cases to progress. And without that support, unfortunately, those cases are dismissed.
One of my questions is because everyone always wants to know when they call in is how long will this take and how much? And yeah. I think, people, when they think class action, they're like, oh, if I sign up, I just sign up and then I'll get like 50 cents in the end. Or some people are like, oh, I'm going to get 50,000 in the end. Right. So what do you say to people who question that?
So as mentioned before, these isn't a class. This is a mass case that we're investigating. So every case is its own thing. It's not together. The example I always use is a class action is if everybody bought a toaster and the toaster doesn't work, you get your money back for a toaster. Example of a mass action is everybody bought a toaster. Some people it electrocuted, some people it worked fine for, other people it burnt their toast, other people it did different things. Some people lost a finger, some people lost an eye. And so every damage is different. And so although we come together for the purposes of discovery, for that scientific support, every case is on its own. We never give an exact number because it's never that. And so we definitely update everybody along the way. But it can vary, and we have a lot of obstacles to overcome too. So we never promise a particular amount, but we do promise that, we're gonna investigate this is to the best of our possibilities. And, we have no incentive to not get you as much money as possible because that's how we are also paid.
100% contingency fee. You don't have to out of pocket to hire a lawyer. We're going to try to get recovery from big corporations that we think hurt people. If we're successful, that's how we get paid. Obviously, we believe in the project. We don't make a single dollar unless we get a recovery.
Exactly.
Nye Goldenberg, Rayso, and Vaughn, fabulous group of lawyers that we've worked with on a number of projects. Ashley has spearheaded this campaign for the firm. She's at the forefront of the litigation. We'll really look forward to the work that she's going to do, the work we're going to do together over the course of the coming months, and we'll talk and continue to update this case going forward.
I'm excited.